Rely on him for often in my own life that I need guidance for. My father-in-law is Rosh Shiva in his own right, and I rely on him. And I have, of course, my wife, who I like to speak to.
Not as a halachic authority.
Not as a halachic authority, that's true.
What's wrong? Do you think the shul should have a community area in which they stimulate people also? Do you think there should be events on a regular basis? For example, chess night, Chumash night, discussing different contemporary events, etc.
As far as a kiruv center, it really requires a greater knowledge of the community and the community needs. Obviously, kiruv is an incredibly important tool that we use both to broaden our own communities, to broaden the reach of Klal Yisrael, to broaden our message, and will be a wonderful tool to be able to bring that into the community. It would require, again, a better knowledge of the shul and the needs and the community around us, but certainly it's something that I would like to look into and like to explore further. As far as events are a great thing. They're a great tool to expand shul membership. Chess night, I can't say I'm a chess master. I played it in my youth a little bit, but I guess a chess night might be one way to stimulate people. But certainly social events, and I tell chassanim, I teach people who are ready to get married. And one of the halachas is that when you're married, you're not supposed to have what's called kalos rosh while your wife is a nida. Frivolous activities. And the old Sfarim write that a frivolous activity is playing chess. They tell us to a young guy nowadays, playing chess is an example of kalos rosh. There's nothing more intense, more kovod rosh than playing chess. But certainly social activities that allow people to get together on a regular basis is a wonderful idea.
Okay. So Rabbi, you touched on something with regard to the community in Brooklyn, which I think in some ways relates to us. I think the strong point of our shul is that we do have more diversity perhaps than the shuls in the neighborhood. However, we also have our struggles. We want to be a diverse community, and yet we have trouble maintaining some of the young people coming in. And I think Moshe hinted that it's unnatural, but it seems to be a trend that people like to go off and do their own thing. So do you have any particular strategy on how to approach being more inclusive and attracting people who have different shades of frum type to want to go home?
Yes. Well, the main work I've been successful at, I'd say, in Brooklyn, in the community that I have there, is being able to build a community from young people. So I do have a little bit of insight from my time there, a window into what makes them go, what makes them tick, what attracts them. There is really a two-tiered approach, the way I see it, to attacking this. Number one is internally, speaking to the members of the shul, within the shul, understanding what's important, understanding a way that we can revamp things in a way that both can balance what young people enjoy, what they like about a shul, and what the former generation, those who built the shul, what they want to see in the shul, and kind of bring those two things together in a way that works for both of them within the inner workings of the shul. Maybe it's a refreshing of the aesthetics of the shul, the look, and whatever it may be. That's step one, I think, to the process, is working internally with the members of the shul and figuring out a way to re-energize the situation for younger people and to be able to attract a broader audience. Outside of that, from what I've seen, the work that the Kollel of North Miami Beach in particular has done is very, very impressive. And I would seek to create relationships with other institutions, particularly the Kollel and other institutions with here, to be able to build, I believe in mutually beneficial relationships between the entire community. And that's a way to bring in the young people by building a relationship, whether it's the Kollel of North Miami Beach, whether it's others, trying to make myself a presence there, and trying to bring their people into us, having maybe a Kollel member say Chabur after Hashkama meeting, something like that, to help attract some of the younger crowd. And nowadays, media is a very important tool in attracting a younger crowd. I think I noticed on the shul website, they're still advertising a baseball game from 2017. Is that accurate? Marlins, Phillies, something 2017. So yeah, it still hasn't ended, right? They're still changing the pitcher. Yeah. So, revamping the Yarn is an impressive publication that's put out, it seems like, on a weekly basis, and that's a good start. but using media, whether it's WhatsApp groups, to send out a message for the shul, for myself, and reach younger crowd through that medium. Did you want to say?
I also think that the gentleman in the back, Jeffrey, touched on something that was important, which is that you can have a shul that's just a shul, which is part of the problem that there is in Flatbush, or you can have a shul that is also a community center of activity. And when you make the shul also a place that's social, that people want to be at, that hosts events, that does things, that includes women, that's a place that children want to come to, then that also makes this
She's next. She wants to say something.
Makes
Very
this
passionate about.
a destination, a place to be, a place where women want to come out of their houses at 11:30 on Shabbos morning and meet their husbands in shul with their strollers because there's something happening, and that's also important.
Next question.
I don't have a question. I just want to mention that I know you're a Robertson's family. Professor Jean Duffin and she was perhaps, I know the whole family. So they have programmed to ask questions. They don't have it.
I forgot to repeat the other questions, but this one I think I'll repeat for everyone on Zoom. Yes, I think that's important. It was just mentioned the illustrious yichus that my wife comes from the Joffin family, both from father's side, going back to Rabbi Baruch Dr, the Alter Nevada, Rabbi Baruch Dr, and from my father-in-law's mother's side, Rabbi Jean Joffin, who was a powerhouse and started a tradition of powerhouse women in the Joffin family. My mother-in-law is a Kaubach, the daughter of Shlomo Kaubach, not the singer, the mashgiach of Chaim Berlin. Shlomo Kaubach is a very special person. You should live and be well, and he's got a strong impression.
We do, actually.
We do, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Roll, second round. It would be appropriate to get people and people get job placement in the area to help stimulate membership in the shul, and people come here for other things besides social events, also more practical.
Absolutely, a shul. No, definitely repeat the one. Yes. Okay. What is the importance? What do we feel like the importance of creating infrastructure, social infrastructure, to help people who either in terms of shidduchim, someone who may be looking for a job, things outside of just basic social events, for the shul to create infrastructure. The shul is, the way I see it, the shul should be, as I mentioned yesterday, the beating heart of a community. It's the hub where people should be able to look for anything, helping someone find a job, helping someone shidduchim, social networking, even just as a way, not just to have fun, but as a way to create social support for people who either are struggling or just need it in the community, is something very crucial to the vision of a shul in my mind, and something that I would certainly seek to create within the shul.
With that said, I think it's important to structure things pragmatically in short-term and long-term goals. So short-term, we need to get people here to daven, and long-term, maybe we'll have a sense of a broader scope than that.
Rabbi, as you know, Rabbi Lerson, who was an expert in Gittin, and we also have Rabbi Shapiro, who's really involved in science. What do you think? What do you see yourself as doing in terms of a specific area that you want to become well known for? That perhaps would be used as a way of attracting people to the shul.
So the question was asked, what would I see myself as perhaps getting involved in outside of the shul needs, as both in terms of for myself and for the community, for the shul itself, to help attract people to the shul. Number one, from my youth, from my father, the impression he had on me, I love to educate. I would love to an opportunity to get involved in local education, whether it's on a short term or for a short amount of time during my week. I'd love to have some involvement in the education of the community. I've also come to appreciate over the years the power of dayonos and the power that a bezdin can provide. I particularly love learning Choshen Mishpah, love those areas. I've created a strong relationship with Reb Chaim Cohn, who's head of the BHI, the Business Halacha Institute in New York, which I understand has a branch down here in Miami. I don't know if you call it a branch, but there are strong roots down here in Miami for his organization. I forget the name of the person who's in charge of the institution. I know my old friend Zachary Zweig is involved in the institution, but I would look to possibly get involved in training in such an institution, in such a bezdin, and possibly be able to provide help for the community in whatever way I can with that background.
And just to add that my husband is being humble, and he failed to mention that one of his strongest draws is that he's a very popular lesson teacher. He's involved in educating young men in preparation for marriage, and he also does a lot of shalom bayis counseling to young people, and this is an area of specialty that he already has. So I'm allowed to toot my own husband's horn, which I think I am, right?
Absolutely.
That's why I'm sitting here.
He's a musician.
Rabbi Ezra.
I have a question for the resident, and as much as I applaud your needs in Brooklyn, are you concerned at all about moving a practice and restarting one from scratch here?
So for better or for, so the question was asked about whether I'm concerned about having to restart my practice in South Florida. So what I want to say is that for better or for worse, telehealth has become a thing. It's not my favorite way to do therapy. It's not even my second favorite way to do therapy or third, but it does exist. And so I feel that transitioning a practice won't be as difficult as it might have been a year or two ago, where I can kind of hold on to what I have in Brooklyn a little bit as I build my practice here. And if I'm understanding, there are people who need therapy here at least as much as there are in Brooklyn, maybe for different things, but the need exists. And I've also been hearing from people in the community that having another from female therapist is something that will be in addition and that the community could use. So I'm not super worried about that, no.
I don't think there are any women from women therapists, and I know like I deal with the school a lot and troubled teens and whatever, and the problem that we have is we don't have a from therapist to go to. It's a tremendous issue. So having a from therapist that's got fast Torah ideas that we can send our children to is a really important thing, whether it's a man or a woman, number one. And number two, probably half of your clientele from New York probably will be down here anyway.
Professor Ezra.
Rabbi Lehrfield was a Yiddish in used to be classes of all kinds. What do you feel are your strengths in terms of classes that you give here?
The question was asked, what would be my strength in terms of classes that I would be able to provide within the shul? My passion, what I enjoy doing most, is teaching what we call lomdus, advanced Gemara classes, as we would say, but being able to provide those advanced Gemara classes on a level that can be attained by anyone. I believe a rabbi's primary job, the number one responsibility of the rabbi, is to elevate. That can be in terms of inspiration, it could be in terms of spirituality, but that could also be in terms of elevating the level of learning. And I believe we're all capable, smart people in this room, capable, smart people in the shul, in the community, and we can be elevated in the level of learning that we have. That's one area where I seek to, the word I use, to elevate the level of discourse, the level of education. But I've also come to appreciate over the years the need for other areas, also for more basic shiurim. I love to teach what we call machshava, whether it's on something like Tanakh. Recently we just went through Shavuos. You have something like Megillas Rus is a beautiful story. My father, if I could plug for his sefer, for his book, he has a wonderful sefer that I use as a resource for Megillas Rus and other areas where I enjoy teaching machshava or something like that. Shalom bayis classes, more practical, pragmatic things. Whether it's learning it through the Rambam in Hilchos Ishus, through the Rambams of Shalom bayis, or just having a discussion. Is another area where I like to add to people. And then there can be something like learning maybe it's learning Tanya with people, something like that. Having a diverse range of things so that whatever it is that may get you, that may draw you in, can be available to you, but a broad range of shurim, I think, is crucial to attracting young membership and crucial to my vision of what the shul should have.
I think also, what's going to draw people more than anything else, growing up, I saw with the rabbi Reverson, is Shabbos meals.
Right.
You know, how do you feel about that? And having people invade your Shabbos, devoting your private life. But I grew up in a private life. Now, I was very resentful growing up, but never had a private meal. Every meal was.
We can talk
I
later.
have rushed.
We can talk later.
I've gotten over it by now.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, so the question was asked about Shabbos meals and our approach to Shabbos meals. Sorry, you want to take this first?
Do I want to take this first? I think that when you get into Rabbanas, this comes with the territory. And it's understood that you will welcome people into your homes, and that we're excited to do that. That's what we come. That's part of the job description that we're asking for. So it doesn't feel so much like an intrusion. It feels like something that we have asked for and are welcoming, because we want to be close to people. We want to build relationships with people. We want our children to be involved in hosting people and having spirited discussions at the table. My grandmother, Rebbe Jean Jaffin, was a tremendous hostess, and she used to host every Shabbos. She was a tremendous shadchanit, and she hosted singles events, and she always had a very diverse crowd at her table. So that was, and when my parents kind of took over from her when she couldn't host at that level anymore, we brought it into our house. So from my youth, I also grew up always with a very broad range of guests. It's something I'm very comfortable and familiar with, and actually really something that I think that we're really looking forward to. Flatbush is a wonderful community, but having Shabbos meals is sometimes difficult because not everybody holds of the Erev. And most of our shul is young, and people have young children who are not mobile. Right now, I'm not mobile, so that's also difficult. But the opportunity to have connections in the community, to invite people over, to go to people, to come to shul, to, in a sense, not have such a private life, but to be part of the community is actually really what we're hoping for, and why South Florida is not Brooklyn.
To follow up on what my wife was saying, in agreement of it, but we've heard about the legendary Lairfield home, and there's big shoes to fill to create.
We don't have to worry. No one's expecting that.
Yeah, right, to create such a thing. My children, actually, as I was just mentioning, they complain that why don't we have more people at the Shabbos table? It's so boring. You're always asking us about school, what we're doing. It distracts, but there is a balance that has to be struck between having a private life with your children, and at the same time, I think the balance can be struck. It doesn't need to be every meal. There can be a proper balance, and it to perhaps be readjusted and redealt with and rethought about. But it is an important tool in any rabbi, in any connection to the community, to open up your home, that they should feel like it's an address for them, that they're comfortable there. And that way, then when there's a real issue they may have, they feel like there's a place that they can go that they're comfortable with. I'll just follow up on the Shabbos. I'm used to getting the question of, Rabbi, how do you feel about carrying on Shabbos? When I came here to Miami, I didn't realize what they were asking about carrying on Shabbos is a very different question than it is in Brooklyn. So I started asking, carrying on Shabbos? Well, there's an area that's easy, no problem there here in North Miami Beach. And I realized they're asking an entirely different question here in Miami.
Took me a second.
Packing, they're packing. How do you feel about packing on Shabbos? Yes.
All right, that question was definitely not audible. So.
Okay.
It's a good question.
It is a good question, yes. The question was asked about the diverse range of people in the community, and my approach, particularly I think in terms of halacha, to dealing with a wide range of people. Balance is a crucial midah for a rabbi to have. And in halacha, it's crucial to be able to balance conviction in psak, conviction for what you believe is the right thing, but also an understanding of the people behind the question, the person asking the question, the community behind the question is something that has to be balanced. And there is, in halacha, there is a wide range of area that you can go. It doesn't, not everything is cookie cut. I do have my thoughts about things, and if I feel something is incorrect, something is outside of the range of what I feel is appropriate, then perhaps I'm not comfortable going there. But that doesn't preclude from understanding the person behind the question and being sensitive to the needs behind the question and the diversity of the community and the need to balance that, the conviction in psak, the conviction in learning halacha, with the understanding of the people behind the question. I hope that was helpful.
Would you be able to deal with stock, for example, to somebody who's not as, say, primitive as you are, for this, that will be clear to you?
I believe so. I believe in most instances there is room in halacha to understand that. Yes, I do believe so. But as I mentioned, there is a line. There might be lines where I feel like this, based on my understanding of halacha, what's appropriate, crosses a line, and there it's important to draw that line and understand that there I'm not willing to go. But that still leaves a broad range to be understanding of the people behind the question and work your psak that it can work for them in a way that's sensitive to their needs and what they need.
Professor Ezra had another?
No, I was going to ask the question to the Rebbe, since she talked about the Eruv in Brooklyn, and I, having lived in Brooklyn and visited my parents in Brooklyn in the same area that you guys live in, there was no such thing as an Eruv. So was this something that was new?
Well, that's a sticky question that I don't know if I feel comfortable answering over Zoom. But
Didn't I tell you before not to mention the Eruv? Don't mention it.
But when I grew up, essentially nobody used the Eruv. There wasn't an Eruv. If I've understood, in more recent years, there's a better Eruv, and I don't know anything about halacha, that more young people are using. But the vast majority of people who are from Brooklyn and who grew up there don't use the Eruv.
Shimshon, I'll put you on the spot. I'm sure you have a question.
Yeah. Now, the Verbal Line says that when a young man is 15 years old, he knows more about life in the world than anybody else at any other age. You lived here at 15 years old. You experienced all the things North Miami Beach needs. And I'm sure you envision as a young man, when I become the rabbi here, I'll be making these changes, I'll be doing these things. Maybe. How are you going to make those changes? What mark are you going to make on the North Miami Beach community that we don't have now? Since you're a youngster, you now have a polo, we have yeshivas, we have a lot of things that weren't there when you grew up. That how are you going to make this community great?
Make North Miami great again.
Make North Miami great again. Yes, the question was based on a understanding that as a 15-year-old, I had visions for how I was going to build North Miami Beach and what those visions were. Well, I'll say that as a 15-year-old, I didn't envision myself being a rabbi. I envisioned myself on a different career path. It's something that's developed over the years. And so I can't say that as a 15-year-old, I had these ideas, but you are right that North Miami Beach has developed a lot since that time. And as I mentioned earlier, the work the Kola is doing, I think, is tremendous. And the work the local yeshivas are doing, I think, is tremendous. When I look at it from what I understand from an outsider's perspective and somewhat of an insider's perspective, as you mentioned, from my youth, is there still is a need for a real community shul, for things where everyone feels like there's just a central hub that can bring everyone together, that can unify, whether you daven here or not. It doesn't have to be about davening here Shabbos morning. It doesn't necessarily have to be about paying membership here. It has to do about just a central hub of a community shul that can just kind of unify everyone and bring everybody together. I spent time in my youth after I left here. You mentioned 15, and I was 15. We were living in Boca Raton, in the BRS community. There was a central hub. BRS was a place that everyone in the entire community felt connected to, and that's something that I would love to see happen in North Miami Beach, and that's something I'd love to see happen in all communities. It may be ambitious, but it's something that I would feel would really elevate the community and take it to a new level.
And also, we want everyone to be members.
We want everyone to That's the next step.
The board members in the room were cringing.
Sorry.
Someone else has to have a question. Everyone's being shy this morning? There we go, Aaron.
So you're here 2.5 days so far. What are your impressions of the community of the shul, positive, negative? Be frank, please be frank.
Well.
She's the friend.
You want to repeat the question?
Repeating the question is what of our impressions are of the community after being here for less 2 days, we'll call
I got nothing.
Okay.
My will was I'm staying far away from this question.
it. Our impression of the community of the shul in particular is that it's a shul with a rich history, a history they're committed to. They're committing to maintaining the essence, what has made it, what has built its personality over the years. But at the same time, it's also needs to kind of evolve as the community evolves. As is mentioned, the community of North Beach has changed a lot since I was younger, since the Young Israel started. There is a lot of growth, a lot of wonderful growth in the community, and it's changed. And perhaps it's time to move the shul along with that change. So I believe there is strong potential here. The shul is brimming with potential to create what I've been talking about, to create that community shul, having the infrastructure, the people involved here, and the commitment to the history of the shul creates that foundation to be able to build on that and to be able to build the potential of that community shul that I've been talking about. I believe with my experience coming from Brooklyn and the type of people I've learned to relate to, the wide range of people from my youth, from my time in Baltimore, and now from my time in Brooklyn, the young people that I've learned to relate to, I believe that experience can be brought in to the shul and kind of marry those two things and bring the shul, help the shul evolve into, bring that potential out into what it really can be and grow it in terms of that. The shul needs a refreshing, maybe, something to re-energize both the membership internally and the membership outside, and bringing in new members and new life and new energy into the shul. And that's something I think my wife and I, our family, can bring to the shul.
As a follow-up to that question, for some people change is difficult. So how would you balance the people that might be reluctant to do that change with the people that need the change?
Change is difficult, and change in the shul is an important thing. It's not an easy decision to be making. And hagim are sacred. Just throw them and hug him for no reason. I don't think it's a question of, let's put it to a 50-50 vote. If there's 51%, we change. I don't think these decisions are meant to be made unilaterally either. They're working with the members that are within the shul, that built the shul, but also with an understanding of where the shul can grow and what's hampering our ability to grow, and taking it slowly over time and changing what needs to be changed, and looking for areas where it's clear that this is something that it doesn't have meaning anymore. It's something we're just doing, but it's lost the heart of it, and trying to find a new way to create that meaning, a new avenue for those things. But it's not a simple issue, not something that you just take and say, hey, this is not really working anymore. We could get a few members if we ditch this, let's do it. It's.
So to follow up to the follow-up.
Good.
That's well, that's good.
An example of what you would consider the refresh that you mentioned in the first question.
All right. For better or for worse, younger generation, they like quicker davening. That's the bottom line. I recognize that I took a part in it was davening yesterday, I think 2 hours and 40 minutes. Partially that was on me. As the rabbis of drasha, and the rabbis, that's one area where we can cut down perhaps the timing of certain things, but finding the areas within davening, keeping it inspirational, keeping the ruach, keeping the spirituality. There were points over Shabbos where the davening was beautiful. The whole davening was beautiful. I shouldn't say any of it wasn't beautiful, but there were parts where the ruach came out. Kabbalah Shabbos was particularly beautiful. I'm remembering all the parts of davening. Kedusha and Musaf was beautiful and had a certain ruach to it. And then there's parts of davening that I think we can speed up and can kind of move along and move it, make it in a way that's more attractive to younger people. Kiddush is really is essential thing for younger people. It's like, it's the thing that I find with the younger generation, and I hesitate to say this because I have to say it carefully, but for young people, in a certain way, younger people need to work harder nowadays to raise a young family, than possibly ever. Both spouses, in most cases, need to have a full-time job. That's on top of raising children. The budget of a frum family is just, it's extraordinary. The amount of money to bring in just to make ends meet and send your kids to frum schools. It's just, it's an extraordinary burden on young couples. And they look at shul as a way to kind of unwind, as a way to socialize. And it's important to recognize that while the shiurim are important as well, and elevating ruach and the spirituality of the shul, it's also important to recognize that it's a way of socializing, it's a way to unwind during the week, and for young people to balance that, both in terms of the davening, to kind of consolidate it, in terms of the kiddush, to make it a social event. To me, a sign of success within the community would be where a kiddush is spirited, it's enjoyable, there's Torah, and there's singing at the kiddush. People sit and they enjoy together. It's not just something they come, spend a few minutes and then walk home. It's seen as a social event, as a highlight of people's week.
I have a question to Brian.
I'm not auditioning for the rabbi.
Maybe you should.
In other words, we always had a kiddush at shul, and that was a very integral part. And since COVID, and the security committee, we did an excellent job. And now that we're kind of letting up, you see most people are not wearing masks now. Are we ever going to go back to a situation where we have a normal kiddush? I can't keep that kiddush outside.
Yeah,
I mean, are you ever envisioning that we come back like a normal kiddush, a normal shalosh, now that most people are vaccinated and the people who are not vaccinated, remember, they could wear masks.
sure.
That, I think that's gonna be a big part of it, but, we haven't really come back to normal. Nobody has, I mean, other schools, I think, are having shalosh service, and stuff like that. The goal of this.
So my quick answer would be, obviously, it's not my unilateral decision. There's other people involved, but I think we're pretty close to getting back to normal at this point.
That's just coming to the rabbi, so I think, the shul will be that behind you, when we start, reintroducing shalosh, kiddush, owning Shabbos and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. We just had a discussion about setting up this room for shalosh services once again, probably 2 weeks down the road after the Provo Shabbos are over and another Rosh Chodesh, but then after that, we should be starting up shalosh service again. And definitely, yeah, once people are more comfortable eating inside and having kiddush inside, we can start setting this room back up for social hall kiddushes as opposed to outside.
I forgot to allow here this.
I'm sorry, I watched the place.
Brian, we got a question in the back.
Lefty, go ahead.
You mentioned about the speed of davening. On the first level, I myself actually had this discussion with a rabbi very close to regarding my speed of the Shema, which I'm trying to slow it down. You yourself now said on Shabbos davening to speed it up.
Certain parts of that.
So that's an excellent question to follow up. He's asking more clarification of what I meant about the speed of davening. I'm talking about areas in davening. Shemona Esrei is the Amida. That's our tefillah. That should be spent time on, and build up to Shemona Esrei should be spending time on. But then there are areas within davening where things can be sped up between aliyahs and stuff like that, where you can work to find a balance that things work where it's.
You have to get Kriyas Torah for 45 minutes down. Whatever you're going to do that. To me, that's the black hole where I myself, like that's where I fall asleep every morning and it's hard for me to wake up for Muslim.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's a balance within the davening to both be respectful of davening and have the right parts of davening be focused on and be done properly with the right speed and the right slowness. Give people the right amount of time while still maintaining a certain balance that it doesn't. People don't start falling asleep.
I know your father was an incredible feeler, incredible teacher.
He was. He is.
He was one of my mentors, everything like that. And I looked up to him a lot as a kid. He was a little bit older than me, but he was what I really looked up to. He is an amazing person. Have you inherited his genes as far as davening and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I'm done. The question was if I inherited my father's genes in terms of tefillah. There was also a lot of very nice talk about my father. I hope you heard that. Yes. Thank you. That's a compliment. I can lead a davening. I can do it, but I have not inherited my father's ability to be a chazan. All the boys did not get my father's voice, and the girls did, which is unfortunate in our communities. Like I said, I can lead a davening, but I'm not going to be the Neroy and Baal Tefillah.
As you look out upon everybody that's here today, you are the youngest person almost seated in this group. Okay, everybody you're looking at has probably each getting very close to the age of what we say. What we're missing is there's no one in this room under 40. Okay, and we have to regrow the oxymoron of young Israel. Would you consider run 2 different minyanim Shabbos morning, one for the younger people, one for the traditional older people, and speak at both minyanim, and not necessarily try to integrate them right away, but to try to get them back. Consider that to be an option.
Absolutely.
And you realize that the demographics of this show is really going from a demographic that's disappeared to people who are 80s and 90s, which is maybe different than what you're used to.
That wasn't audible.
The question was whether or not I would consider multiple minyanim to both to attract younger people and to attract older people, perhaps people who want to move a little quicker. We've been talking. People who want it a little more slower, more traditional. Absolutely. I think that's a very important tool. When I talk about integration in a community and diversity, I don't think that has to mean we all daven in the same minyan necessarily. We all have different needs, and people have different things that inspire them and different things that they want to get out of the shul experience. And therefore, you would have to consider, I would have to consider anything to allow, and if it requires me speaking at multiple minyanim, multiple times, multiple styles. That's something that I would certainly consider doing. Ultimately, the goal, though, would be to integrate and to find an integrated balance. That doesn't necessarily have to mean bringing everyone into the same minyan, but that there should be a sense of an integrated whole and a sense of community is very important. But I would consider that. I don't know if it's a consideration in the community. I'd consider a different nusach at the other tefillah if that's something that can help attract young people. If there's a Sfarad crowd, I don't know. It would require an understanding of a better understanding of the community needs, but certainly any of those things would have to be considered.
But by the way, Shimshon, the reason why there's nobody here under 40 is because you made the meeting, like my wife said, she went to a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you had this thing at 10 o'clock, I would go. You know, so like I think the younger people, there are a number of younger people, like my son-in-law, in the show, like Sunday morning at 9 o'clock before waking up and doing it for kids. So I don't think it's indicative that in this particular room, there's not younger people. It's just that having a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning is like the last thing they're going to do. You know?
We're going to test it on the next
I think you're right.
And by the way, while we're talking about it, my wife was saying, like, why are you going to show 8 o'clock in the morning? Didn't you always have a 9 o'clock meeting Sunday morning, which we had for years? I don't know what happened to that meeting, but I for sure, you know, I don't have it.
Brian, you're getting grilled here, huh?
There's no reason.
You don't even need us.
Yes, for 9 o'clock. I think we should really, we're exactly. I'm the first one there.
But I think-
Now we need 9 more.
But I think Moshe hit on a very good point. All these decisions have to be well thought out.
Absolutely.
Based on integration in advance, so that we can avoid a situation like this. Because for me, 9 o'clock was early, but my kids are older than I.
Yeah, I mean, the key is different needs for different people, different solutions for
But
different.
this is a situation where we really want to everybody.
You're
So
wrong.
I think Rabbi
Oh, wait.
Copeland had a question.
Did you guys start answering something though?
No,
I was
okay.
just gonna say that I think that it's a Q&A session, so we have to have answers. But the truth is that we need a lot more information. And as a therapist, I always say, like, you can't pin me down until you've given me the full picture. And we need to know more to really have good answers and well thought out answers about what we would and wouldn't consider and what isn't practical or helpful or useful to the community. So everything that we're saying is somewhat conjecture as we kind of take in what the community needs, and kind of watching the back and forth is really giving us just some insight into like the different needs and different perspectives that are going on. So I think think even that is helpful, and it's nice that everybody's here.
You saw all that you said.
Do you think about getting more people to survey different people in the shul and the community? Still needs a younger demographic, or some other people say we need a younger demographic to help invigorate the shul also. I think that's relative.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? I didn't understand the question. One more time?
Some people were mentioning
Yeah.
having a younger demographic, young people coming in. Do you think a survey and or some sort of way of analyzing and getting data to how to get more younger people and more of a more dynamic and invigorate the shul would be a good thing?
Absolutely. Any new idea, any way to get more information, more data is an excellent, is a wonderful idea. The question is about a questionnaire, whether or not that would be helpful. Understanding the community is something we keep talking about, that getting to know people better and understanding the information, and data is key these days. You know, understanding what people want people want to see is always going to be helpful. But it's important to understand these things. There isn't necessarily a quick solution. There isn't necessarily a quick answer. It's a process, and it takes time. It's something I had to learn as a rabbi in my first years in building a community. And there were times where it was a struggle, but it takes time to build what you want, to build that integration that we're talking about, to build the energy that we're talking about. It does take time. It will take a number of approaches, whether it's a questionnaire, whether it's a social events. It will take a number of approaches, but I do believe in the potential of it, that eventually it can grow to that.
Cool.
Striking a balance. Let's say you have a 13-year-old in shul and you have an 8-year-old in shul. Both want to feel comfortable, but yet there's that growth that each one needs, no matter what their age is. How do you strike that balance of keeping someone comfortable in shul and yet a little uncomfortable with the understanding that there's room to grow?
Well, the question was about how to create a comfortable atmosphere, both for senior members and for younger members at the same time. It's important to understand the needs of both the senior members and younger members. Understand the person, obviously, the individual, but also in general, to make sure that there's an atmosphere of respect for the older generation. Understand their life experience is something that is crucial, is something important, to put that on a pedestal and to create an atmosphere where it's appreciated and understood that they have the experience for the younger people to gain from. But at the same time, to make younger people feel like they're a crucial part of the shul. It's not, kids are not supposed to be hidden in shul. Youth groups are not a way to just put them in the corner so that their parents can enjoy shul. There's a way to celebrate their achievements, to celebrate their accomplishments, to make them feel appreciated and like they're also a crucial part of the shul. So understanding the needs of both demographics, which are different, and being able to bring them together, those different needs, is a crucial element in creating that atmosphere.
Right.
As a rabbi of a shul in New York, what would you say was your greatest challenge or greatest bottleneck for that period?
What was the greatest challenge as a rabbi in New York was the question. That's a good one. The greatest challenge as a rabbi, particularly for the younger generation, is getting people to actually do stuff. It can be a real challenge with the younger generation. And there's a saying that I think there's a rule, maybe if you come with one complaint, you're supposed to have 2 ideas as well. Well, I don't know that message has been received by a lot of people. People, they have initiatives they want for the shul. They hit and run. You know, they tell you, oh, let's do this, and then they're nowhere to be found. So delegating jobs, creating a system for that has been somewhat of a struggle. I've had somewhat, I can't say I found the answer to it. It's a difficult question, but creating an atmosphere where people understand you want something better in the shul. Don't go ask the guy who's doing 3 other things already for the shul. You start the initiative, you know. Hey, you want to start an Avos Rabbanim program, you know, you want to have pizza Motzei Shabbos in the shul. Don't go ask the guy who's in charge of Kiddush to take care of pizza Motzei Shabbos, because anyway, you know, he's getting herring, so he might as well go get pizza. You get the pizza Motzei Shabbos, things like that. But it has, when there's an atmosphere of working together and people want to see it grow and there's positive energy, it really helps, and it comes with it, but that is a challenge.
Brian, you had a follow-up?
So if we were asking the members of your shul or the board of your shul, what they perceived was your greatest challenge, is that the answer they're going to give? The greatest challenge was trying to find ways to delegate, or from their perspective, what do you think they would say?
Question was from the members in the shul's perspective, what would they say has been my greatest challenge? I'd like to think they'd say nothing. Is that okay? I think they would agree that that has been a challenge in the shul, and that has been, they would agree that we've had success, but getting people to take on initiatives and to take energy to the shul, to host shiurim, to host women's events, some of this has been the greatest challenge in the shul. I think they would agree.
On a practical level, what did you do to try to overcome this?
What I was discussing before is mainly learning how to delegate jobs to different people, create an atmosphere where people understand that and understand the responsibility of it. I was talking about this recently. Someone made a kiddush for her daughter. It was the second kiddush she had made in my term as a rabbi. And I was remembering how the first kiddush she made, he was doing everything. People were just standing around enjoying themselves while he did everything, running around for this kiddush, setting up, making sure everything was set properly. And now recently he just made a kiddush and he was able to relax and enjoy his kiddush while other people helped out. So just creating a sense of camaraderie and sort of togetherness helps with that.
Who do you ask your shots?
So I ask, and for personal shilas, very often I go to Berkwood Shlita, one of their shoes in their Yisrael, but I have a team of people for different questions. My Morher on Halacha in Brooklyn is Tzvi Sokol. He's the Rosh Chabur of my Chabur Yeshiva. He's the person who I got Shemesh from and I rely on heavily. He really has that balance, what we talked about before, of understanding the person behind the question and knowing where there's room. By understanding halacha better and learning the depths of halacha, not just reading a pamphlet, you're able to know where there's room to maneuver, and he has that. And I go very often, we'll go to halacha shabbos to him.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Morning.
When you touched on the halacha issue, Rabbi Yerfeld, Zichrono Livracha, used to say that it doesn't take a road scholar to be able to say no. Be able to figure out
No, absolutely.
the way.
Yes. Koach de Teira Adif. Right. Finding a heter is better, and that's true. And that is part of a rabbi's job. There's no question. That's a crucial part of a rabbi's job to try to find.
Question is.
Try to find a heter, not to say no. Yeah.
You mentioned before about learning systems you'd like to do necessary part of the one is your some of the organization like response as other probably Australia or Australia.
Finding, the question was bringing other initiatives, learning initiatives into the shul besides for the classic ones, Alva Subanim and Daf Yomi, to not just shiurim, but if I understand correctly, learning initiatives in the shul. There are a wide range nowadays of initiatives, and as we discussed, there's a wide range of people and needs in learning. Not everyone gains from Daf Yomi. Not everyone is young enough for Alva Subanim. But initiatives like Kinyan Masechta, like Omer Yomi, like these types of things, I don't have a wide range of experience with this stuff. I right now during the week I'm a Rosh Kolo, and I focused on that during the week in terms of my Chabur and Yeshiva. But using those initiatives that are out there is important, and also creating your own chaburas, unique chaburas with the needs of the community. I believe everyone who has yeshiva background should have smicha. There's no reason we can't learn Basar Chol Teruva. Creating a chabura to learn together. Basar Chol Teruva, some of the, as I discussed before, some of the hardest elements perhaps in halacha that people think are well beyond them, I think can be within their reach when done properly, and creating exciting and vibrant chaburas that allow people to feel a sense of accomplishment, whether it's Daf Yomi, whether it's Omer Yomi, whether it's getting smicha and Basar Chol Teruvas, but allowing people to feel like they are growing and learning and a sense of accomplishment. It's one of the most heartbreaking thing that I see dealing with young yeshiva people, that they learn in their yeshiva years, they get that base, they work hard, and their parents invest a lot of money in that learning, and then they move on and they don't use it at all. They don't use the skills that they've gotten, and maybe they hear a share here or there, but they haven't used those skills or those years in yeshiva that were so valuable to them. And it's something that I would look to incorporate different ways for those people who went through yeshiva system in particular, but not only exclusively for them, but in particular, people like that who should have the ability, and anyone who knows how to open a sefer, who has the desire to open a sefer, should have the ability to access Torah on its highest level.
Okay, we'll probably wrap it up here. We're at about 45 minutes. So did you guys have any final words, Rabbi Robinson?
Or questions for us?
Or questions for us, yes.
So I don't know that I had questions, but I think that in kind of listening and taking in what everybody was saying and also what my husband was saying, it seems clear that part of what creates a sense of community and that what will be the answer to, if there is such a thing as an answer, to integrating a lot of these different things and different needs is creating a shared vision for the shul. Even if the needs are different, even if a 13-year-old and an 83-year-old don't have the same davening needs, don't have the same shiur needs, women and men don't have the same spiritual needs and they don't have the same social needs. But when we can create a sense of a shared vision for our shul, for our community, then it's okay if I'm a little bit uncomfortable to make room for your needs because we're all working for a shared vision, a shared purpose, a shared goal. And I think it takes time to get a sense for the people in the community and how to create that shared vision. But that's the goal, to create a shared vision and then figure out like, how do we fit all these pieces? Because when we're working toward a common goal, it's a lot easier and feels a lot smoother to be able to make concessions, to be able to accommodate other people's needs. And that's our aim, to really be able to get a feel for the community and work together to establish this sense of shared vision and shared community.
Well, in closing, I would just like to make one comment and then follow up and ask a question, I guess, of all of you. Before I do that, I would just like to say thank you to Brian for all the work he's put in over Shabbos, for the emceeing this event and even taking some heat from me. I appreciate it. Thank you to all of you once again for a wonderful Shabbos, and to Aaron for all the work that he's put in. If I haven't made it clear, I will make it clear that my passion, my dream, my goal is to build a community shul. I wouldn't be considering moving down to Florida despite the wonderful weather for part of the year. Despite all the beautiful amenities of living outside Florida, I wouldn't be picking up my family and moving them down. I'm not picking up and moving them down to do something else, to be involved in other things. Although certainly if it would benefit the shul, as was discussed earlier, or benefit myself, I would look to be involved in other things if I had the time. But my goal, my focus will be on taking this community, but taking whatever shul it is and building it into the community and the vision for the shul that my wife and I have become very passionate about building. That will be our focus. That will be where our attention is. That will be our dream when we are down here. And my question for you, as Aaron gave me permission to ask, is I'd like to hear from you about what your vision is for building the shul, what your vision is for that energy, bringing it into the shul, some ideas you may have, some initiatives you may have. You're all welcome to get my cell phone number, whether Aaron has it, I know Dr. Heller has it. You're all welcome to it. And please reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation of hearing something about for your visions. You're here, you're within the community, you see it on a daily basis, and that will be very insightful and very interesting for us to hear what your visions and your goals and your dreams are for this community that everyone seems to really love and be passionate about. And again, thank you all for coming.
All right. On behalf of the board and the selection committee, and I hope the general Kehillah, we thank you for coming and thank you for submitting yourself to this 45-minute grilling here. So hope it was good. To everybody on the Zoom, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.